What's the most violent thing you've ever seen on television? A murder, an assassination, a deadly explosion, or a war report on the nightly news. Whatever it was, it is sketched in your memory. Now that we're balanced young people, we know those images can't hurt us, or can they? According to the Senate report entitled Children's Violence in the Media, by the age 18, an American child will have seen 16,000 simulated murders and 200,000 acts of violence. It is quite impossible for these images not to create an impression on the minds of the children who watch them. Violence, deception on television has strong, lifelong negative effects on children if adults do not do their part in censoring and guidance. I am here in front of you right now because I want to show you that violence is widespread on television and that these shows have negative effects on children as they grow up. Adults do not take responsibility. Violence is everywhere, even in cartoons, and yes, even in shows we consider wholesome. My sister once told me that her 5-year-old was playing with one of his friends in his room, and went to check on him. When she got to the room, she about had a heart attack. He had tied up his friend and was asking him questions and was hitting him with a bat. She asked him, "What in the world are you doing?" And he had said that we were playing bad guys, just like on the movie Lethal Weapon. Also, according to the general report I mentioned earlier, more than 1,000 studies about the relationship of television. According to the Senate report mentioned earlier, over 1,000 studies about relationships between television and film violence have been done. The majority reached the same conclusion that television and film violence often leads to real violent acts. This is why once the major relations of the report was also that television alone is responsible for 10% of young violence. Television and media violence can encourage children to learn aggressive behavior and attitudes. Tim Smith was only 12 years old when he tried to imitate the wrestling moves he learned on TV. It would have been okay if these moves were just done during imaginary play. However, he implemented these on 6-year-old Sandy Moore, who suffered a fractured skull, a lacerated liver, broken ribs, internal hemorrhaging, and cuts and bruises that led to her early death. Lots of opinions have been thrown about Tim's innocence or guilt, but one thing is for sure, he did not have a good understanding of what can be done in reality as opposed to fantasy. According to a 15-year study made by L. Huseman and his colleagues, the sorriest thing about television violence is the children tend to identify themselves with the heroes from the shows, and that the main character is rewarded for their deeds of acts of violence. The example they gave was Dirty Harry, who does things violently but is praised for his deeds. This creates an impression in the children's mind that are aggressive is a good solution to getting what they want without suffering any type of consequences for their actions. According to the University of Michigan's Health Systems website, kids under 8 years old may or may not be able to distinguish between reality and fantasy, thus making them think that the fantasy violence they actually see can be real. This supports the belief that television violence can also produce fearful or gloomy attitudes in children who tend to become easily scared because they can mistake the idea that the imaginary characters they see on TV can come into their real lives. If there is no one to guide a young child who is watching something violent on television, the kid can easily mistake it as something that is part of reality. Therefore, adult presence in the light of television violence is necessary for children. Many parents trust that G-rated movies and shows are safe for their children. However, in a study made by Frank Thompson, all American animated features films made from 1937 to 1999 have portrayed intentional infliction of pain was coming higher. It is still highly recommended that parents view the films together with their children to help the kids understand the right and wrong of what they are watching. According to the University of Michigan Health Center website again, children between the ages of 8 and 12 years old who watch violence and TV become paranoid of being a victim of the disaster they have seen. Children below the ages of 8 often get poor sleep because of the they get from TV violence they absorb. Without parents and caregivers to confront these children from the effects of what they may be watching, the fears that have been instilled can become lifelong. Adults must become more aware of their roles to prevent the negative effects of television violence on children. Violence on television is easy to ignore because it is mostly done in comical or heroic fashion that promotes the success of the hero in a story. However, children who have little capacity to understand the difference between fantasy and reality can either imitate the aggressive behavior, have twisted views on what is right and wrong, and may develop unnecessary fears that can impact them for life. Adults must play an active role in censoring and explaining these things to help children process and see correctly. We do not need to wait for ourselves to become parents to help protect children against the effects of TV violence. We have young siblings, nieces, nephews, and young friends who can benefit from this, from what I have talked about today. Be the true hero in someone's young life. Help children and parents understand the real score about the violence of television.